Oh, hey, what's going on? Patrick here from Have Cheetah Will View. Um, and eight questions with. Yeah, you caught me right in the middle of something here. Um, I'm still looking for a werewolf. In Werewolf Island here. I thought maybe there was a picture stuck in there somewhere. Anyway, welcome to the show on a very, actually sort of a warmish. Well, it was warm, but temperatures are dropping drastically. We were at 67 degrees just like maybe like 40 minutes ago, and now it's down to 52, and it has been raining and blustery all day. Today we were talking to director and screenwriter Candice Carella. She has written, she directed the awesome movie called Unicorns, as well as two other shorts, two other films, 3 Days in the Hole and Pony. Um, uh, and we'll be talking to her about that. And we'll be talking to her about her whole entire career, including um, to her start. And so I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be a very good interview. This was rescheduled. We crossed paths before. When she had an engagement she had forgotten she had committed to, so we had to reschedule. Hey, that happens, when you're a busy artist, a busy filmmaker, that's to be expected, right? Um, it does happen. Um, it happened Wednesday, so I'm used to that. That happens. Like again, should I say it again? No, I don't want to. Uh, wow. Uh, So I guess I should just start off by saying I'm actually working on something I hope will work out. Um, I'm working on a guest that if I get, it will be a Grail type guest. I'm really, really hoping that happens. Hopefully I'll have something to announce by maybe in the next week. Um, it'd be pretty exciting for me anyway. December is now booked. I pretty much have booked all of December. And so we have a pretty outstanding month in December, actually. Yeah, looking at it, I'm pretty damn happy. We got we got some, we got one of the coolest guys I know. Uh, um, my friend Gordy Carbone will be here with us. He was the lead singer of the band Slip, and he has also toured with Lars Fredrickson and Unknown Bastards. We have actor playwright Stephen Foster will be here with us. The lovely Sherry Davis from the upcoming Bermuda Island will be here with us. Film journalist Bobby Lapierre. Lapierre will be here with us from Film Threat Magazine. Um, Calvin. Um, he's also known as Black Noah on Instagram. He is a tireless, and I do mean tireless, animal rescuer down in Bessemer, Alabama. He rescues cats like nobody's business and dogs. He's one of the really bright shining stars I've seen in the last forever and a day. Um, just a tremendous human being, and we'll be talking to him about that, about animal rescue in Alabama. Hey, Michael, how are you, sir? I just got done wrapping up my December calendar. I did that today. I booked my last two dates I had. I booked with a film composer, Mariano Solino, and DJ, music historian, talent buyer, Natalie Faridas. Um, Natalie Faridas is, yeah, I'm pretty happy with it, Michael. I think it's a pretty entertaining one. We even got a local we even got a local community member being interviewed with us. But I'm going to hold on to that for a little bit more. I'm going to hold that one to the vest. I want it to be a surprise. We also have comic book artist Mick Gray will be here with us in December. He's inked countless Marvel and DC comic books. His work is well known, and he's also an old friend. So yeah, I have friends everywhere. It's amazing. But Mick will be here with us in December to talk about his art. Working for the both major comic book houses, DC Comics and Marvel. Let's see. We even make a run across the pond to interview Darren James King, and then we'll come back and interview Alexis Icono. I'm looking forward to that one. Alexis is really, really talented. So that's what's coming up in December. Some of what's coming up in December, but of course, before that, we still got, after this show here, we still got 2 more weeks of fun here in November. November is going to be a lot of fun. We got next Tuesday, the 16th. We have exactly up. Here's my guest, bright and early. I love it. There she is. Welcome, welcome. Can you hear me okay? Hi, there she is.
I can hear you. Yep.
Good, good. Yeah, I was just saying, I have to do this part. You ever watch a movie? Let me ask you a question. Let me to break the ice here. You ever watch a movie where you expect to see something on screen, right? Like, if you go see The Godfather, you expect to see a mob boss, or if you go see, Friday the 13th, you expect to see Jason. If you go see Star Trek, you expect to see the Enterprise. Have you ever gone to watched a movie that says, like with a title, but then the movie has nothing to do with the title at all?
I know where this is going.
You do? Did you watch it?
I mean, I have a few times.
Because I watched this movie. I watched this movie right here. It's called Werewolf Island.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that.
Okay, so I watched this today, and I watched this because some friends said you got to watch Werewolf Island. We're in the mood for Werewolf Island, and Candice, there's no werewolf.
Oh, that's funny.
There's not even a dog. There's not even a puppy. And so I'm just like, I don't know if you can see the cover very well, but it's a badass werewolf, and yet this is the only time you'll see it is right here on this cover.
Huh.
I'm telling you. You know what? I feel like I want my $10 back. And I feel like I want my popcorn back. I feel like I want my soda back, even though I didn't go to the theater to see it. But I still feel like I should get that back.
Was the movie worth it? No, it was a letdown.
Oh my gosh, it was terrible. It was terrible. It was not. I'm not gonna poop on it, because I do realize that it was probably made from a labor of love, but overall though, but that comes up to something I'll be asking you a little bit here in a little bit, because it is a question I will ask you. Okay. I have asked a couple of other film directors about this too. But first off, thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for being here. I am thoroughly tickled.
Me too. I haven't talked about film in a while, so it'll be fun.
I knew that we were going to end up talking sooner than later, as soon as I saw Unicorns.
Cool.
It's funny, but a lot of movies, it seems like the last 8 to 10 years, a lot of movies have really moved me. They speak to me, sort of, and Unicorns did very much. And I was just, I knew that I wanted to talk to you. I knew I wanted to talk with everybody concerned. And when I saw that Leah had done the movie, and I had already reviewed and Pamela and Ivy, and had talked to Mariah, I knew I was going to end up talking to you about Unicorn. I just didn't know when. I just had to be patient. Because it's a beautiful movie. And it's beautifully directed, very sensitively directed, very moving, skilled. You could definitely tell a skilled hand was behind the camera. And a movie like that needed to be. It needed a very delicate and professional touch, because it's a heavy subject.
I lost you. I'm sorry, my Wi-Fi jumped to another Wi-Fi, so I lost you for a second.
Okay.
But
I commented how much I really enjoy unicorns, and that I knew that you and I would be talking.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
thank you.
yeah, it's a very moving film, and it needed to be handled, by a professional hand because of the subject matter. You
Yeah,
know, yeah, and yeah, it was a beautiful job.
thank
Um,
you.
but before we get into that, because there are some questions I'll ask you about that too. But
Mhm.
let's go back to your beginning. Let's go start back to when Candace was just starting out. Um, so where were you born at, and where were you raised at?
Well, I was born and raised in Southern California. I went to UCLA. I spent time traveling with my dad to parts of Africa and the Middle East and stuff as a young kid. So I had this kind of global scope about things from a young age, and I saw things from a young age that I think as an artist now definitely influence me, and the kind of things I find interesting. And I still love traveling and seeing the world and seeing other people's perspectives. That's all a great little section, like this cultural anthropologist in me that I think I find interesting when I see other films about different communities and this and that. But I ended up going to UCLA studying fine art and cinema. And my first job while still in college was as a wardrobe stylist. So I took it and I did some pretty amazing music video jobs really early on in my career. And it kind of got me in the industry. Everything was really fast paced and glossy and high octane and very exciting, especially for somebody at that age. But there was always something that I was like, I want to be a storyteller. I want to be a storyteller. So I felt this nudge to sort of work my way into the narrative somehow. And I didn't quite know how, but I eventually did work my way in and did costumes for TV shows and films. And I did that for a long time to get, and for a long time I thought really that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a costume designer. I loved telling stories through characters, and I love being a part of helping the actor make that character and giving actors an instant visual identity, and helping them feel comfortable as that character. So that was always very fun for me, and that was my favorite part of doing it. And I realized over the course of doing that that I wanted to try storytelling on a larger scale. So that's when I got into writing and directing, which I've been doing since 2013. So that's sort of the little background, the abbreviated background.
Oh, yeah. That's now. Was your father? Okay, this always happens at the beginning of our interview. Every time, it never fails. I am
Oh,
frozen, so let me back out. I'll come back in and stay right where you're at. You're good. It's just me. It always happens.
okay.
It never fails. This is what I love about this show. This is what I love about doing this. Is the known that it is what it is. It gives me a perspective on what live TV must have been like back in in the 50s when they were doing live shows, or live theater. You're without that net. You can't just stop and say, okay, let's do this over. Um, so was your dad, like, was he a corporate businessman, or do you work for the government?
He was he's a pediatrician, but he ended up doing kind of like a Doctors Without Borders type of thing, which had us living in Swaziland, which is now the Republic of Eswatini. So I went to school. My sister went to school in Swaziland, which is definitely an interesting experience for a year and a half. So, as a kid, you hear sounds and you see things and you try different foods, and it's just I wouldn't exchange those experiences for anything. I mean, it definitely opened.
And it sounds like for a kid, it sounds like a total, what a beautiful thing to experience.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. There are ups and downs with it. So you know, from my childhood recollection, I remember things like playing in a refrigerator box. That was like the coolest thing to play in, or like my mom had to boil water on the stove to give us a bath, you know, and these are the kind of things, you know, you would take for granted here in Southern California, but like gave me a bit of perspective. We were staying in a straw hut at one point, you know, so I had a pet bush baby, you know, these are kind of things that don't normally happen, but I am so glad I experienced all that.
Do you think that you're looking back at it? Do you think living in those situations enhanced your skill as a storyteller?
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
so what it did definitely, as you know, you'll notice with like 3 Days in the Hole, which is a movie I made, I've always been attracted to sort of exposing, you know, like this social impact narratives and diving into those a little bit. And so for 3 Days in a Hole, that was definitely influenced by traveling as a kid to Jordan and other places like that. And, you know, like seeing injustices and then hearing about inspiring women. I mean, especially because what's happening right now in Afghanistan with the Taliban takeover, I definitely felt, not to go like too off topic, but like those are interesting stories. You have all these women that had careers as police, as officials, and they can't leave the house now. You know, it's just life is stopped. So what's happening? You know, you as a filmmaker and storyteller, that's interesting to me.
I agree. No, you know, you can talk a little bit about Afghanistan because it is an interesting subject. It's been, you know, been covered in many documentaries, and filmmakers have gone back there, and you know, it's wow, it's heartbreaking, but it's also frustrating because, you know, when you think about it, you know, because you shot your movie sort of like a documentary, right? 3 Days in the Hole. You
Three
told
Days
that like a narrative way.
It's a narrative film based on true events. So we recreated it just like any narrative film, you know, would be. And then I did go to Iraq and Syria and um, research that, but you'll only see actual photographs in the end credits from that. So
Right. What was it like going there as a filmmaker? I mean, we're gonna, you know, what was it? What was that before or after UCLA that you went to there to Iraq? Did you go
I
there
went after.
after?
I went after. I went once I was actually a filmmaker already, trying to make this film, 3 Days in the Hole, which is about a young Yazidi girl who is captured by ISIS, and and it's her survival story, surviving the situation, and she eventually escapes. And it's something that I used details from real people. It's based on true events. And yeah, I went there to research a little bit that story and sort of get the ducks in a row to develop that as a feature as well. So, but you know, once I was there, I was involved doing a lot of humanitarian work with friends and fixers that were over there. So that kind of exposed me to a lot more stories, more people, more circumstances. And as like I keep saying, this cultural anthropologist and storyteller, I definitely got more information about what's really happening, you know, over there. So it was an interesting experience, and I guess I didn't quite realize how scary maybe it is to go there during a war with ISIS. And like they were 2 kilometers away from us when we were on the front line. But I think partly that naivete as a filmmaker got me to actually go. Would I have gone if I knew, you know, all the dangers I don't know.
Yeah, because that's not an easy place to go to. I mean, even your allies may not always be your allies. In a place like that. I mean, even the so-called pro-American side, maybe not so much. Because we didn't belong there. They I think they always saw us as an invader. So I'm not exactly sure. If you would have gone over there with like a big production or stuff like that, I'm not really sure how well it would have been received. But you went there, with more, did you go by yourself? Did you have a couple of people with you?
Well, it's a funny story. A friend of mine now found me on Facebook and said, I made a documentary about this Yazidi community who is the target of ISIS, and I am a veteran. And if you are ever interested in going or seeing my movie, it's playing at the Newport Beach Film Festival. You can come see it. And I'm going to be going to Iraq in a few weeks, so we can talk about that. So a couple days later, I'm driving down to Newport Beach to see this documentary. And I connected with this documentary filmmaker who basically he's a veteran, he's a humanitarian, and he had been doing all of this kind of humanitarian stuff in this region for years. And so I just kind of came in on one of his trips and was able to connect with a lot of people that way. And I think it was the best way for me to go, because there were definitely checkpoints we drove right through where press was stopped. They were not allowed in the military zones. They were not allowed in certain areas. And we kind of saw them being stopped and questioned, and we were waved right through. I mean, there were some things like they dressed me as a Kurdish Peshmerga to get me through some, like my friend Namam, who's passed away now, she dressed me in her military fatigues just so people wouldn't ask any questions, and it was kind of funny. Like, I don't know that that's normally how things go, but that's just how it went when I was there. And so we were waved right through.
Wow.
Yeah.
You definitely had yeah, I can see how that would have been really something to go through. And your upbringing prepared you for it. That's the thing. I don't know if you would have just came without your growing up, without seeing your father work or whatnot. Just like if I would have just, if he would have said, hey, Patrick, you're gonna go with me to Iraq. I don't know how I would handle that because I have nothing to base any experience on it. But whereas you had your international background, I think that also played a really important part and helped you tremendously.
Yeah, I mean,
like I told you before,
my life, but I think it definitely influenced me a lot, who I am as an artist and how open I am to discovering different communities and just diving right in. I love that. I mean, it's a small world. Why stay in a bubble?
No. Like I said to you yesterday on our pre-show, you're very multi-talented. You have a lot of your skill sets are amazing.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed. I mean, that isn't an easy feat to do.
Appreciate that.
So that wasn't your first film. Your first film was a lot more down to earth. I mean, you did Pony in 2014. That was your directorial debut.
Yeah, Pony was my directorial debut. Yes.
I love Pony.
Oh,
can I tell you that Pony is wonderful. That was you know what, I would have never guessed that was your first film.
Well, thanks. I never would have. I'm glad it was my first film. It's a very personal film. I wrote that film trying to deal with the difficulty of explaining death to a child, and it was based on an incident that actually happened with my daughter finding a bone in the sand playing a treasure hunt game with my parents, and she found a bone which ended up being a human bone, and I was working, I was on a shoot, and she was with my parents over in Florida, and so I get a phone call, that my daughter had found this human bone, and security was called and the police were called, and she went down to the station and answered questions and all of this stuff. So I'm preparing myself for like how to deal with my traumatized kid after finding a human bone. And when I spoke to her, she wasn't traumatized at all. She was excited and thrilled, and this is like the best day of her life. And she got to ride in a cop car and all of this stuff, which was like so confusing to me. So then I had to like backpedal and realized I need to figure out a way to explain death to a child in a way that, you know, would resonate and be appropriate for her age. And the way that I did that is by writing Pony, and by not focusing on the gruesome inspiration for the film, but by focusing on the importance of human connection and bonds. And that's what gives loss its gravitas in a way. So that was really sort of me just trying to work out my own life on paper, and then it turned into Pony.
Now, was this person that was this bone that the little girl found? Was that really did he tear up the backyard looking for the rest of them?
So that was at the beach in Florida, where she found the bone.
So wow, gee williger.
I imagine it did turn into sort of a scene, which is probably why she was so excited that she found something that then caught all this attention. And so that tiny little thing is not in the movie at all, as you know, but it was an inspiration for the idea, the germ of the film.
Now I'll have to say, okay, now because we got to talk about it. I know we're not going to land on it, but we are going to touch bases on it because I just want to ask you. Well, you got your start in wardrobe, and I like how you said that, because that's how I saw it, Candice. That's how you described it. How I saw it as well. You're dressing the artist, the actors in the costume. You already right there have now become basically part of the storytelling process, because clothes do tell a story.
Yeah,
how a character's dressed tells a lot to the viewer when they first see them. It tells them a lot about the character right there, right now. Get that right.
So a lot of what I had done is I would break down the script, and I would think about each character's trajectory, because I would do a lot of the shopping on these shows and films. So I would be the one finding the clothes. So I would have to really get in the character's mind in a way to sort of figure out what they're doing in the scene, where they'd be emotionally, psychologically, where they're going to go to, and then what makes the most sense for them to be wearing. Of course, I have all my ideas when I'm shopping. And then when I get to the point where I meet the actor, or, am doing a fitting with someone, maybe I know them well because it's been a whole season or something like that, it becomes a collaborative process where we talk about the scenes together. And I can tell you from working on a lot of TV shows that oftentimes, especially if it's a day playing actor, oftentimes they haven't really discussed the project with the writers and producers and directors yet. A lot of times casting's last second, and we end up being the first people to see the actor and discussing the scenes with the actor in the costume fitting. So my favorite part of that process really had always been being the one to discuss the scenes with the actor, and really figure out, maybe with them, with their ideas, as a collaboration, with the things that I had found, find that direction for that visual identity. And then I realized it's not that far to go. How would they stand? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? What are they wearing? To like, where would they be in the scene? How are they moving through the space? Where are they going to stop? What's more emotionally moving, given that this person has more power than that person? Are they going to be higher or lower? Is he going to be hovering over her? So that's the blocking really that the director does, and the emotional trust that you need to have with the actor. So it wasn't that big of a stretch, to be honest, to go from that to the other. I mean, there's always so much work that, for me, I think of myself more as an actor's director, because that's my favorite part.
I definitely agree with that.
I always like to edit, even to performance. I mean, when possible. So it's just, if you don't have that performance, then you don't have the film, no matter how beautiful, your long crane shot is or whatever. If you don't have the performance, the poetry of the cinematography isn't going to necessarily always land,
Right.
So I like to put the blocks in order.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny because I just had so much fun with it. But talking, we were talking in the beginning about the movie I showed you about. That's that was it. It's like you can have a great script. You can't have a great concept. You could have awesome costumes. You could have props, special effects, or everything else. But the two things that are critical to any project are a script and a performance. You got to have you can get away with a subpar script if you have a good cast, but you can't get away with a bad cast on any script. If you have a bad cast, I don't care what you do, it's going to ruin your film. An undeveloped script can still be saved if you have skilled enough actors, but you got to have, that's how I feel, from the movies I watch. Now, I guess it's obvious because you worked on all those shows. You talked to a lot of different directors. Did you get any chance to talk to directors one-on-one during downtime? Did they give you some ideas, tidbits, or?
Yeah, well, there's one director that sort of took me under his wing and mentored me. He was the executive producer on one of the shows that I did. I was the key costumer on, and when I decided to do Pony, he kind of mentored me a little bit then, and I was able to shadow some of his episodic directing work, which helped me a lot. And I'm still doing that. I'm always doing that. To be honest, that you're never done learning. There's always, everybody has their own way of doing things. And, a lot of conversations are closed. So it's only what I can pick up. I'm pretty careful when I'm doing costumes not to discuss my directing work because, everyone, it's just too many people trying to do it. Like it, so it doesn't usually benefit me to do that. And I'm a fly on the wall learning from everybody. I've learned from Bruce Beresford, Steven Soderbergh, Michael Mann. Like I've just been a fly on the wall. So it's been great.
For Pony, I noticed you had for your first film, you come out swinging. Your cast is just like big. Susie Nakamura and Alexander Berkles. Excuse me, I'm directing my first film. Is there any way I can get Alexander Berkeley or Susie Nakamura? You know how many directors would come up for air before they got a cast like that? Nobody really comes up there for a first project and gets that kind of talent.
Well, okay, so this is where my background plays into, my filmmaking. So I worked with a cinematographer that I had worked with for many years doing music videos. And his name's Brad Rushing, and he did, Britney Spears, Eminem with us, like all of these videos. We like kind of traveled as this little troupe. Joseph Kahn directed most of them. And so I became very close friends with these people,
Sure.
And when I had the script for Pony, I was like, cool, I'm ready to see if, one of my old DP friends want to come play on it. Of course, I had nothing to show for. I had nothing to prove. I'd studied cinema. I'd studied Italian cinema, neorealism. Like I studied photography, but that's like a whole different thing. Like to have studied photography, and I was doing weird art projects. Like I was not doing cinema making, filmmaking. So, I'd made some art films, but they're very obscure and abstract stuff. So when I didn't have anything to show for, and other than the script, and like this, charging energy, and Brad was like, "Cool, let's do it. Let's go do it." And he was very supportive, and there was never any hesitation, and so it just became like a when, how, who. He had shot a feature, and I can't remember the name of the feature, but he had shot a feature with Xander, and he recommended that I look him up. And so this is all kind of ironic. So I looked up Xander. I knew him, of course, from a lot of his projects, from Sid and Nancy to Terminator 2 to I knew him from other stuff. And I said, oh, yeah, he might be great. But the funny thing is, I watched a short film he had done about Socrates, I think, that Stev Alam directed, where he's, babbling in a parking structure. And it was beautifully shot, and it was so weird. And I'm like, that is Jeff. Like, I knew it from watching this short film. And I was like, yes, like, send him the script, whatever, And since he had a direct line to Xander, he just emailed him my script and told him, our background. And, Xander is an artist in every true sense of the word. Like, if he sees something that, he could play with or work on, he jumped right in. And he wrote me a lovely letter about how he had a daughter the same age at that time. So playing the crazy uncle in that film felt like very natural to him. And he had wanted to do a musical role and a role that wasn't maybe a villain and all of these things. So it kind of lined up with what he maybe wanted to play around with too, which I think is always very good when you're looking for talent, when you're looking for cast. Your project has to have something that they want to do.
And that's funny you mentioned about that, about the villain part, because you're right. He pretty much always plays the villain. And, it's funny. You talk to a lot of actors, and they'll sit there and say, well, what parts do you like to play? And they'll say, I always like to play the, good guy or bad guy. And they always say, oh, I like the good bad guy because, you always have so much more fun. But, that old nasty S word comes into play too, and you find yourself getting stereotyped into that role.
Well, I think, the villain roles that are very textured, that are redeeming or have some relatability to them are definitely more interesting than the stereotypical villain, like non-developed character, and I feel like the Jeff character wasn't a villain. He was just this really textured, lost guy, and the child was able to help him rediscover his deeply buried past loss and find his inspiration again. And it was like sort of this beautiful reciprocal thing that presented a different role than he had maybe been doing. And I feel very lucky that he took a chance. I mean, Xander is very involved in all the creative details. He was thrilled that I came from a costume background because he wanted I think he even used the word sartorial when we were talking. He's like, I know that you'll make sure that the character and the references look right. And I had referenced all these, people from, Vince Neil and all these other guys for the movie. And then we went wig shopping to get the wig perfect, right. This Iggy Pop looking wig. Like, he wanted to be there and do all this stuff. And so I was like, this is great. I don't think it's normally like that. And I think if I do a project with like big actors, I don't know that they're going to be that involved and that like arty about it. But I was thrilled that he was, because it elevated my aesthetic to a degree,
Well, I think one of the most impressive things about the fact that he did, and he wasn't a villain in this movie at all. I didn't see him at all as a bad guy. No, not at all. I was just thinking some of the other characters he played, over and over and over. And it's funny you mentioned underdeveloped character, because there's one movie that always drove me nuts. You and I were talking about just a minute ago about performances and script. And there's one movie that always has driven me nuts ever since I saw it. I came out of the movie going like, because one thing that can ruin a movie is a plot hole, right? If it makes sense, and you're sitting there going like, why did it even happen? I mean, as a director and as a writer, you really want to make sure you don't have any plot holes, right? I mean, that's what you look for. You don't want to leave your audience lost. And there's a movie that Xander did. That's exactly what happened to his character. They left him in a black hole, and it was just like, it was a big hit, and but they left it. If you go back and watch it, you go like, how did he get to where he got? And it's so big and obvious that it really sort of takes you out of it. And it was a blockbuster. But
well, I mean, that's not saying I've seen a lot of blockbusters where, you know, I can almost tell that this particular story arc, they ended up cutting room floor some of it, and you know, they decided to focus on the A and B, and then they initiated this story, you know, so you can kind of tell when they're like, oh, but whatever happened, you're leaving the theater and you're like, but whatever happened to so and so, like they never finished that story, you know. And I think sometimes that happens in the edit. It really should happen in the script form to like figure out exactly what you're gonna need to shoot, because then that messes up the shoot. You know, what are you gonna shoot stuff that then you don't use? You know, of course that happens, but it's not ideal. Costs money.
yeah. I guess back then they were still using. I mean, because I guess the game changer in film for filmmakers is obviously the digital camera. It's a game changer. I mean, it was funny. I see all these movies being, they announce all these huge ass budgets, such and such movie being made for 200 million or whatever. And I never believed that. I never believed the numbers they pump out. I always think it's sort of hype, because a lot of the filmmakers. I mean, it's like, wow. So if your movie's costing that much money now, then how much money in just think about how much money that was been spent back in the old days, like in the 70s and the early 80s, or the 80s itself. Their budgets would have been like probably double what you're listing yours as, because they're using film. They're still using shooting in 70 millimeter and 35 millimeter. And that would have been insanely expensive. But the digital camera, it really has changed the game. Has really changed the game, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely for independent filmmakers, you wouldn't have been able to afford to do some of those movies. I was lucky to get a Panavision grant. I got a Panavision grant for 3 days in the hole, and so I didn't have to worry about camera package at all. And with Pony, one of our executive producers was Sam Bayer, and he was very generous to loan his camera and Panavision lenses. So, I mean, I've been pretty lucky to know people and be connected to people that had, stuff, or like with the Panavision grant, I had to apply to it like applying for college, and it's a hard grant, I guess, to get, but it was a new filmmaker grant, and they came through. I got some beautiful lenses, and we had some drone work on it, and we just had a good time making that one. Well, it was a time making that one, but we had everything. Yeah, we had everything from bee colony to rattlesnakes to all kinds of things interfering, but we managed. So
sure, that's the beauty of it. You're being challenged. You challenge yourself. Of course, the first movie, back to Pony, the first movie though, I mean, I was just looking at it, I watched it twice because I wanted to watch it and I wanted to see the nuances in it. And and I was really impressed with, I was just really impressed with everything about it. I mean, you directed the little girl perfectly. The rapport between her and Xander was spot on. Like you could definitely tell that, there was a lot of love between the two of them, and you captured that very much, with your script. And was that actually Xander singing at the end?
Yeah.
Did you have him sing at the end?
Yep, that was Xander. Yep.
Wow. Mind blowing.
Xander was also able to pull in, Xander just knows so many different people, so he was able to pull in, Peter Atanesov to help be like his guitar tech advisor of sorts. And I gave them, so I had written some like loose lyrics to the film, loosely based on Plato's allegory of the cave. I liked sort of like the attraction to that allegory, and then I said, do what you want with the song. I don't care what you want to do with it. This was like my initial germ, but change it. And he did. He went in and he arranged it with Peter, and they changed a few lyrics here and there. I can't even remember if I looked at the beginning to the end if it would be anything resembling the same lyrics. But it was nice for him to be able to like have this authorship on that song, and he was able to pull in like one of the drummers from the Doors and one of the accordion player from the Pogues, and like all these really cool musicians came and played on that final song. And it's just, it's like, it just reminds me of this like bohemian town that maybe Paris used to be like, or LA was like at one point. And I got to be a part of it with this project and see how that like kind of unraveled. And it was special. It was really special. So,
like I said, no, most rookie filmmakers are not walking up there with that kind of clout behind them. They're just not. I've watched hundreds of short films, and no one knows. It's like walking in there and seeing that, and you go like, wow. And I think that really had to do, like you said, with your connections. Through all that hard work that you did in costuming. I think all that hard work and flying the wall. I think that was critical to that. I think without that, you struggled to get Pony made. I mean, not because of your lack of talent, but just because you would have had a client, you would have worked that much harder to get to there. But because you have worked in there, you had all those connections and you got the chance to shadow with people and everything else. It really benefited you and really allowed you to showcase your talent a lot more than a lot of first-time filmmakers do. Because the first time they make films, the first time is always the hardest, right?
I mean, I definitely would sit in on people's films and be, the questionnaire person that would write, what worked, what didn't work. So I had a little bit of a background being an audience for filmmaker friends. And I just think that, I got lucky. I got some really good people, and I got like the dream team. So it was great. It was a good experience. I produced and wrote that as well. It was just kind of like nobody telling me, oh, I want it like that. Like nobody, everybody was, on board, and that was great. All I had to do was make sure the train ended at the station that it was supposed to end at, and it was fun. It was a really fun time.
Now, how did that short film do for you? Did you show at the film festivals? Did you was it seen by anybody?
It was definitely it was inspiring to see how people responded to it. It won 32 awards in the festival circuit, and it got distribution, cable license deal. It went on all the VOD platforms, and it's about to come out on Omeleto. So it'll have, its exposure finally. Yeah.
Oh, Omeleto's going to show it. Oh, I love that channel. There's nothing more cool. There's, to me, honestly, one of the cool things about Omeleto. Well, that's really cool is to watch a short film that you reviewed, and then next thing you know, you see it on Omeleto, and you go like, I saw that first. It's like, because Omeleto, they always bring the cream of the crop. So if you can spot a good short film and then it lands on there, like Unicorns landed on Omeleto.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, I saw that. I'm like, holy cow! All right, because like it's sort of like for a film critic, it's like a pat on the back saying you're justified in watching what you watch. But now let's talk about this, because this is interesting. After 32 different prizes, tremendous support, great cast, a skilled director, really well done. It was 2014, or that came out in 2015. But then what happened between Pony and 3 Days in the Hole?
3 Days in the Hole was the next film that I made. So I imagine I had to go back to work to pay some bills, and did some costume jobs and started to try to find inspiration. The thing is, as a filmmaker, I am so involved in every single creative detail. I eat, sleep, dream this this project, I have to believe in it so much to get the whole crew to believe in it, to inspire. It's so much energy that I have to really want to tell the story. So of course, if I've seen a film that isn't, you know, quite that, I maybe didn't do it. So, you know, finding something that kept me up at night was, I want to say, 2016, I made 3 Days in the Hole. And it took time to get that together. So
it's a process.
mhm.
Where did you shoot 3 Days in the Hole at?
Agua Dulce, actually. So we were gonna shoot at this place in Santa Clarita that has a Middle Eastern village sort of thing already done. And then because we were in an independent film with a lot less money than maybe a humongous Netflix series, they had a calendar, but then maybe a week before we went into production, they bumped us off the calendar for a full paying job. And I mean, that's the most frustrating thing as a filmmaker, to be like, oh, we're going to go shoot at Blue Cloud. It's going to be beautiful and perfect. And now we can't shoot there. So I didn't really have a lot of time because I was prepping. So I scouted everything virtually, and I found this, place, you know, on the location sites on virtual scouting that had like an old Mexican jail. And I'm like, we can work with that. We have to get a scenic painter out there immediately and make it an Iraqi mud brick village, but we can do it. Like, so that's what we did. And the landscape actually looked very much like northern Iraq. It looked very, other than like the yucca plant. So I knew what things in the scenery were going to give it away that it wasn't northern Iraq. But
I don't think anybody's worried about that. I mean,
no,
as far as I understand it.
I like that detail. So I'm like, okay, let's not show all those yucca plants. So yeah, I like that detail. They shoot like military PSAs there, you know. It definitely has been used. The place we shot in Agua Dulce has been used as, you know, this region of the world before. So
So how did you scout for your cast? I mean, you know, how did you do you do your own casting?
Well, so for Pony I did, and for 3 Days in a Hole, I used the casting director Carrie Rock, who's amazing. She's cast a lot of stuff and produced some cool movies. I think she cast Adrian Brody in something. Anyway, she's a family friend, and she came on board, and it was challenging because we didn't have a lot of money. So I was basically like, I can't have, there's a lot of action in this movie, but I can't have stunt doubles. So I need the actors to have weapons training and fight training, and they need to be able to do their own stunts, and they need to look Kurdish, and they need to speak in English, but with a Kurmanji accent if possible. And it was just like my list kept going and going and going. Why not? Why not shoot for the stars? And so definitely had our work cut out for us. And I enjoy sitting in on all the casting sessions. So I did sit in on every single casting session, and it was so much fun. Even the ones.
Do you like to cast your? If you had a choice, do you like to cast your projects and meet the person, or or self tape? I mean, what's better for you as a director?
I like to see them like in front of me personally, because then I can give a note and see if they can apply it. You know, that's directing an actor. So maybe I don't think that the note is a good note, but I just want to see if they can apply a note. You know, maybe the note that I give in the session is a great note because they need to tone something down or try something a little differently, or, you know, less precious or whatever it is. And then I get to see how they can work with that on the spot, because that's important. You need a lot of time.
You know how many actors right now just have suddenly become your best friend?
Oh, well, you know, like, I'm friends with all the people that I've worked with. I'm really excited to like I think because of my background in helping create character, I give so much of my energy to that and making actors feel comfortable and vulnerable, most importantly, doing what they're doing. I mean, 3 Days in a Hole was extremely vulnerable. These women were playing slaves, you know, and they have to find stamina and they have to survive, and the stuff that they were doing is so dramatic. They really needed to have the chops, and I was so happy to find these girls that, you know, were amazing. They were amazing.
Where did you find your cast at this?
I believe they all came into my casting session. So my casting director Carrie put it out on the breakdowns, and all the main 3 girls all came in and auditioned. And I know we definitely had our work cut out for us, because the main character had to be young. She had to be like 15, 16-year-old. So you know, that wasn't the easiest one to do, but I got Amelia Ray, who's fantastic singer, very talented young actor, and she's straight out of school. Like, she was able to do that role amazingly. So I got lucky. And the 3 girls bonded so much. You know, they all became very good friends. In fact, 2 people that I cast on the film, one of the best friends in a flashback, they actually became roommates after the show. So I'm like, okay, like I can do this. Like, I could be a matchmaker maybe. I don't know, but like they, you know, people were really connecting. And George Costoros, a very, very talented actor, came for a little cameo, and I was thrilled to get him to come do that for 3 days. He's an American fighter, American wrestler. He's a star of those movies. He's really a talented guy. So I was lucky to have him come just for a little cameo. And like, I was lucky to have Malik Yoba in Unicorns. Like, I was lucky to have him come too.
Yeah, I saw that. When I saw the cast, and I'm going like, holy cow, you know, that's, you know, I when I was watching Pony, I was thinking about that actually. I was thinking, you know, for someone who has 3 films underneath their belt, you know, 2 of the 3 films has some heavy hitters out there. You know, you had, you know, Xander and Susie, and then for Unicorns, you had Malik and you had Leah McKendrick, who scripted it, who wrote it. You know, and to me, those are some, you know, some pretty well. Those are some very, very respectable names.
Yeah.
Now, here's my question to you, Candice, because here's my question as you know, as an independent filmmaker, and you mentioned how little money you have. This is the question I ask you: Is it more important as a filmmaker? Let's say your movie for your budget. Let's say the movie that you had for 3 days in a hole. Let's say you had $20,000. Okay, this is what you had.
Okay.
But you also know too that it's not going to be enough to tell the story. It's not going to be enough. You could tell it, but you're not going to be able to tell it like the way you want to. Does it behoove you as a director to shoot what you have, or is it better for you to wait maybe another 3 or 4 months, maybe build up another $10,000 of a budget, and then shoot your movie and get your whole story told?
Okay, so if it's going to be a short film, like 3 days in a hole, I would look at the story and see what I can do. Do I need every detail that I have in here? Is it going to cost X amount of dollars to get this drone on the permit, to get this, to make sure that this is here, to get sheep running through the shot? I actually had in the budget, in my first past budget, that I was going to have like sheep running through the shot, and there's going to be a shot where there was blood squirting on the sheep when the father's beheaded. So you know, and then I start talking to the animal wranglers, and it costs X amount of dollars. It's like $3,000 for 5 sheep or 3 sheep or something like this. And then if they're going to have stuff on their fur to clean them, it's just much more. And I didn't need that detail to tell the story. It's a flashback scene. Like, I didn't, you know, the father's a shepherd, but how important is it that the father's a shepherd and we see the sheep? You know, like, can the story still, because I'm making a short film, not a feature film again. So like, what elements do I need? And so when I sit down with the AD, I do the same thing. So I do, if time permits, scenes, because I obviously always want to, wring every last drop out of the day. So, but I need to make my day, and I need to know that if I only get 4 days to shoot this film, I have a film in the can at the end of those days, because I can't guarantee that I can get 55 people to come back and play with me another 2 days later on, or another day later on. That's unless you're really just thinking about a short amount of pickup shots with a skeleton crew. That's, but if you have another third to go, I wouldn't do it that way. I would see if it's possible to tailor it down. And I'd say most of the time it probably is, depending on what the story is. Most of the time you can find a scene you can lose, or you can find the first part of the scene you can shave off. Like if you sit in on edits a lot, a lot is shoe leather, and you don't need to say everything in order to get something across. So
because I see a lot of filmmakers, they'll have that really small micro budget, and I mean, it's almost like, as soon as they get that hot money in their hand, they're rolling, and it's like, dude, you don't have nearly enough money to tell the story you're doing. I admire the ambition, but man, you don't have enough money for even a smallest amount of practical effects, or location, or proper wardrobe, or any of that. I mean, you're out there shooting it, on a no budget. And to me, it's like, why not just, it took you 4 months to raise to 20,000. Well,
yeah.
wait another 2 months, get another 10K, then go out there and then shoot the movie a little bit, and just come out, because first impressions are everything. They're everything.
Right.
I mean, it's like, you don't want to come out there like with you. I mean, you set the bar pretty high for yourself. You have of one of the short films I've seen, Candice, your level's pretty high. I mean, most people come in, they're here, but you came in really high with your first. So, to me, I think an audience member will come in expecting that. Oh, this is the movie that Candice Carella made. They're gonna have a certain expectation.
I know you do put the pressure on yourself a little bit, but I think part of that is because I see the caliber of filmmaking that I'm around as a crew member, and I can't say, oh, I'm independent and have less money, therefore I expect less. I'm always, with every single department, trying to elevate every detail, every possible way. I think that's really annoying for people during the process. Like I push, and I know that it doesn't always go over well, but in the end, I know I'm gonna have a movie, and then they can be like, okay, it's good and it's being well received, and I get that, you pushing is passion and trying to make it the best thing it can be in the end. And I think when you're a short filmmaker and you're on a budget, any number of things could go wrong to stop you in your tracks. And they do. And all of those things happen. And so if you're not the type of person that is like, oh, okay, roadblock, change of plans. Okay, let's throw out the shot list. We're going to do this. 2J go on the handheld, and like, Brad, you take this camera, and it's just, you just have to get through the day, and things like crazy things have happened where I was like, oh, I'm going to lose the kid at this time, and I can't shoot. There's like a colony of bees in my set where I have to do 3 scenes, and the other actor that's in the only other scene doesn't land because he's on an airplane. And like, it just was like, chaos. And the guns weren't picked up the night before, so we don't have, the armor coming. And it was just, everything that could have gone wrong on 3 Days in a Hole did, but we made it through because I think we're all professionals, and we're able to make sure that the train arrived at the station in the end. And it's the most gratifying thing when you overcome a bunch of challenges to make your day.
Sure. I mean, I can definitely see that. I mean, you become a much better filmmaker when you have to overcome obstacles than they're just coming in and have everything glide for you.
Yeah.
it isn't always good to have everything just laid out in a red carpet. It's good to have those bumps and bruises that you have to fight your way through. Makes you a better artist and whatever you do.
I would always get so jealous being a crew member at work, seeing certain directors that would come in and get every angle under the sun, and they're not making choices, and that they're waiting to do the choices later, and that seems like such a crazy luxury to me. Like, if you have to consider your choices and the time that you have, your choices take a meaning in production that maybe the editor doesn't get 6 options for this line, but you have an intent with how the scene is covered and how you've thought about it. You've had to pre-think about it because you don't have the time to do all of it. You can't spend half a day on a scene, So I think in a way I love that exercise,
Right. Yeah, yeah, I could definitely see that. So 3 Days in the Whole has come out, and now you're now that you rolled that out, now you got 2 underneath your belt. Now the time between Pony and 3 Days in a Hole, was quite a while. It was a little bit of, like you said, you had to go back to work.
Yeah.
But the gap between 3 Days in a Hole and Unicorns is much smaller. I'm curious, did anybody ever approach you? Did any ever approach you after Pony, after seeing the success that you had with it? Did anybody ever come up to you and offer you any other projects, or did nobody offer you anything afterwards?
Oh, well, I had some interest in some meetings, but what I really needed to figure out was how to get like representation, which I still haven't managed to do. But yeah, I think because short filmmakers, you have to like be doing TV or like films or like really make a splash at Sundance or something like that in order to like get a good rep. But it's still something I'm working towards, and definitely making filmmaking as a career rather than an expensive side hobby, So
yeah, I saw that executive producer title on Pony. I'm sure you had it on 3 Days in a Hole too.
Yeah, I mean, I produced 3 Days in a Hole as well. I produced it. I crowdfunded that one. Like, I did all the grant writing. Like I told you, it's just it's a thing. It's a lot of work and time, but and we strategized that because that's a cause film. We were able to get a crowdfunding platform that was a 501c3, so people could donate and have their donations written off, and like all these kind of inventive ways to crowdfund for that one. What was I going to say? Oh, I met Leah actually because she saw Pony and liked it and wanted to interview me to talk about one of her feature films. And I ended up not doing that feature film with Leah, but then she thought about me for Unicorns.
Was that MFA?
Yeah, that was MFA. Yeah.
Fantastic movie.
Yeah, no, she's a talented writer, and I'm really glad I met her. And we met and we talked about that movie, and she found the right team for that, and thought of me for something else, and pitched me to Hilary, and Hilary is the one that found Leah's script and brought me in as the director. So yeah,
How did you meet Hilary?
I met Hilary. I think Leah emailed Hilary my short film Pony, and Hilary contacted me, or maybe there was a group email, I can't remember at this point, but Hilary was putting it together with another really great producer, Katie Ware, and she's very talented, and I'm glad I got to work with her. And so it was kind of another great team, and all women, this team, and I've been lucky to work with some great talented women. So
oh yeah, there's some seriously talented ladies out there. Great magic, that's for sure.
But I didn't. I didn't write or produce on Unicorns. So
No,
So
no, you directed.
I really do. I really did like just directing, just coming in and directing. It was just so refreshing, you know?
You don't have to worry about anything. You just have to come in there well, I mean, relatively speaking, compared to the first two films, you
Right.
just you had less to do. Yeah, because Hillary and Leah, they're very skilled. Like I said before, there's a lot of wonderful female artists out there,
Yeah.
and I do feel very frustrated at myself on my level as a male, as a film buff. It
Mhm.
frustrates me to see that you have to struggle, because I'm looking at Pony, and I watched that Pony, and I'm just, when you were saying how, when we were doing our pre-show, and you were mentioning how you asked me not to focus on the wardrobe because you just want to become just want to focus on your directing.
Right.
And then I watched Pony. I can't tell you, Candice, how frustrated I was, going like, why isn't she working more? Why are we having this discussion? Like, why is she fighting so hard to get another project, to get a feature film? Because that showed me that she could do the job at least 80% of most of the males I know, if not more. You know,
Yeah.
no, it's not blowing smoke up your ass. I don't do that. I'm just telling you straight up as an artist.
Yeah.
Someone who's watched, I'm sure people watch a lot more than I have, but out of the movies I watch, um, I love watching women directors. I think they're fascinating because they see things so much differently than men do. They
Yeah.
see things so much differently, and I just think it's so cool. I think I like watching female filmmakers work. I like Leah, I like Mariah,
Mhm.
Asleen.
Mhm.
Oh, Asleen will tell you. Asleen will tell you I'm nuts about her. Asleen Clark. She'll tell you I'm crazy for her. She's absolutely fantastic. Um, but there's so many more out there, and it frustrates me to realize that you had to fight just to get more, just be able to do another movie. This is like, why? I know everybody says they take meetings after this and that, but a lot of those meetings are just to see who you are. They're
Mhm.
never going to offer you anything serious. They just want to say, well, at least I can say I saw her, you know, and
Right.
that's a discussion they could have with their buddy or whatnot. But it's like, why don't you come with why don't you come with a checkbook, and maybe we'll take that meeting a little bit more seriously. Like, don't just give her lip service. Come on there and give the woman a chance to create something, because I'm telling you, if you want to make money, if this is what you want to do, you want to make a big feature film, trust her. Trust her. She can do this job. You can do it. You just need, and it's like you just got to get the opportunity. Um,
Right.
Unicorns is an amazing movie.
Oh.
Um, I like I said, that movie is really personal. When I saw that, I had tears in my eyes because I could relate. I could definitely relate to that movie so much. Um,
Well,
Probably
thank
more so than probably shouldn't admit how much, but it does. Um, so
Part of what attracted me to that film was that it was a very serious subject matter, but it was told in such this, the tone was this sort of dramedy, unorthodox sort of way for it to all unfold. And I liked how it was treated. I liked that about it. I thought it was a very unusual way to present that. And it became more powerful in that way. And I really wanted to be a part of it. Leah's talented, and I knew Hilary was going to do a great job on it. So I said yes right away. Yeah.
um, yeah, I agree. Now, do you, as a director, are you when you direct a film, especially one that you've written yourself, are you
Hmm.
allow your actors to improv, or are you a script person? You like, this was written on the page. This is what I want.
I think best idea wins, and I try to not have an ego about it. If I've written it and an actor wants to try something else, I give them that chance to try something else, and then I see what works. Like, obviously, you know, if I have a different idea of what a scene should be than the actor, that needs to be a discussion. Usually I like to try to be on the same page in the rehearsal so we don't get to the shoot and figure out we have very different ideas and this person wants to be jumping off the walls and like this, and it really needs to be like internal and contained versus, so I like to try to be somewhat on the same page. But if an actor on the spot gets some idea, I think, yeah, try something different. Let's see what that does. And then, then we have it both ways. And then I can see what works best in the overall story in the edit. And I think that's something also I'm always thinking about. I'm always thinking about what part, because you don't shoot anything in order usually. So what part of the story, if some actors will just want to do a 10 on every scene, but they can't do a 10 on every scene, So you need to have peaks and valleys in an arc, and you need to arrive at somewhere. So you need to figure that out. Figure out at what point does this need to be this gradually that. So that's a fun thing to figure out with the actor.
Now, I mean, going back to some of the meetings you mentioned, have you been do they, when they, I know they interview directors, they interview them before they get jobs or whatnot. Have you been offered? I mean, were you in the running for a feature film as of yet? Have you been considered for that?
I have. I've met on a few features that were very interesting projects that went pretty far into the process, to the point where I was picking cast lists and things like that. And then, for one reason or another, it stops or it goes away, or, I've pitched too many ideas and it made them, or maybe I pitched what my notes might be to the script and it didn't go over in the same way that I thought maybe it would. So these are kind of things that maybe take them in a different direction, and that's just part of the process. I don't really have regrets about being honest about my feelings with the story, because I know when I take on a story to direct, it's going to be every moment of my life for a couple years, basically. So I know I really have to believe in it and get everyone else to believe in it. And, so I feel like everybody does need to sort of be on the same page there with certain things.
I think people are really surprised when you tell them, when they find out exactly how long it can take to get a movie made. A lot of times
that's actually 2 years. Yeah. Just to say 2 years to throw something out. That's like when something's all money in escrow, ready to go. That's not development. Development, I'd say on average, is 5 to 8 years.
Right. I mean, they look at something like a Lord of the Rings or an Avengers movie, and they go like, "Wow, that they mentioned Avengers Endgame, and then like a year and a half later, here it is." And
right.
It's like, no, it takes a lot longer than that. And when you do an independent film or a drama or whatnot, short of a cookie cutter, because let's face it, there's some movies out there that are made that are just pretty much, you're not so much directing as you're just putting it together. Mm-hmm. Your piece is already there. Like if you did a Lifetime movie or a Hallmark movie, they have a certain formula. It works for them. All they want you to do is just put it together. There's no innovative. There's nothing. You're not going to be able to. You're not going to be. You can't innovate. You can't.
They can churn those movies out quickly. I think some of those like Lifetime movies they can make in a matter of a month and a half or so. Like they can get those done quickly. But that's not like typical, I think.
No, like a regular feature film, like a drama, whatnot. It takes some time for the movie to get made and to come out. You got to find a distributor, especially independent.
Yeah.
So in your handling of unicorns and the story and the cast, mm-hmm. was there any personal experience that you drew upon when you directed that film? Because there's such a gentleness about it. Same thing with Pony. And you explained that. You explained that there was a personal touch to Pony Was it the same with you with unicorns? Had you ever known anybody who had committed suicide or was thinking about it?
I definitely have. I definitely had friends that took their life, and I had two, and so it was important. I didn't have family, and I haven't suffered depression, but I understand it. Well, I guess I could say I'm mildly, but not to the point of like suicidal. And I think I think it's a part of mental illness that is swept under the rug. Like um, I just really wanted to be a part of bringing this story to life for those people, for their families, to have a different story about connecting with people. And of course, as you know from Unicorns, I'm very attracted to two people from different walks of life connecting and realizing that they're not alone in their struggles. That's a theme that I respond to.
Right.
I mean, I like discovering the nuance in these type of relationships, and I think it's fun, and it's important.
Yeah. Um, I was super happy. Like I said, I was super happy to saw the Omeleto. I'm really happy for you that it's gonna come back on Pony's gonna make Omeleto too. And
Yeah.
now what's your writing process like, Candice? I mean, do you like to write? Or when you had your druthers, would you rather be do you want to be a writer director or you just want to be a director?
You know, I'm only a writer out of necessity at the moment. It's the most excruciating, torturous experience for me. And I understand that's very normal, but still, it's something that like when I'm on a set directing something, it's just like a magical thing watching these words come alive and watching, this stuff happen. The magic of directing is so powerful and influential for me that that's really what moves me. No, I don't need to be a writer. I don't even think I'm very good as a writer. I think I wrote 17 drafts of Pony before. I may have written like 10 before I even showed anybody. And, I don't know. I'm very insecure about my writing. So I'm not as insecure about my directing because I know that if I don't know something, if I have an idea, I can always go to people and find out, how can we do this? Can we do this? Like, can we do that? Oh, I saw this. How did they do that? So it's just sort of a discovery that I know I feel very comfortable doing on set in like Lifetime reel. But when it comes to jumping into the head of other characters, and every time I reread something, I'm like, oh, it's terrible. Like, no, I don't need to do that to myself forever. But sometimes it ends up being okay. I know that Pony won an award at the London Film Festival. It won, at the Barcelona, so the screenplay, and that's nice. But I know how much work that took to do that.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a lot of work to be a writer. It's a lot of work to be a director too, and I don't shy away from the work. It's just I don't know if I'm naturally a good writer. I'm definitely not naturally a good writer.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I say the same thing when I go back when I first started writing reviews and stuff, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's just so ham-handed. I tend to think faster than I can write, so
Mm-hmm.
I go back and I see a lot of grammatical errors I made. It's not because I don't know how, it's because I was so fast. My hands can't keep up with my brain.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself as a role model?
Um, I don't think so yet, but I mean, there are people that have told me that they're inspired by me, which is always very nice. Um, yeah, I that's a weird. I hope to be, but I don't. As a creative, I hope to be. I don't think as a person I should be, but I don't know. It's just that's an abstract question that's hard to answer because you want to be, but then you also don't want to be judged and looked at, and picked apart. So
I think I caught you by surprise with that one, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I hope that I can have a career where people are inspired and look up to me. That is a goal.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely have filmmakers.
It worked. Well, let's put it this way: it worked here. I was very inspired by watching your work. I'm very inspired. I can't wait to see what you do next. I really can. I'm excited. I love that sensation. I love the sensation of watching somebody new to me, watching their work, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, what are they going to do next? And then you have to go back and you have to sit there and wait. You go there, you go to the movie database page. They got something new announced yet? How come they haven't got anything new yet? I want to see something new. You're so excited. It's like you want that to happen. You want that to happen for them. Like I want this to happen for you. I want you to get a feature film. But there's part of me I want it to happen for me. I want it to happen for the people in the chat because I want to sit there and say, wait till you see what she can do because she's sensational. She's absolutely sensational.
I think I did inspire people on my crew because I had people come up to me on the crew that like my first AD is a lovely guy. He on 3 Days in the Hole, and he directed something and came to me for advice doing it, and I was so touched. I was happy to help. And that is cool when someone's like, yeah. And then my sound guy, who's also a dear friend, he just said to me the other day, like, anytime I'll come mix sound for you, and I loved that. I like that people like working with me. Okay. So I know I'm not a total crazy, person. So that's always sweet. I feel like, very lucky to have worked with some really great people.
Well, someone just wished me a happy belated birthday. Well, that's really belated. My birthday's in August.
Oh, funny.
Someone just wished my August 26th is my birthday, but thank you. I'll take it. It's got to be somebody. That's awesome. So what's next for you? Are you gonna go? Are you gonna be? Well, I'm gonna go back and ask a couple of questions about Forgel because I'm just dying to know what has been your favorite project to costume for. What show was your favorite?
Ooh, I would say maybe this series that I did called Crossbones, where it was 1700s pirates, and it was John Malkovich played Pirate Blackbeard. It was an NBC show. They released it in the summer. It had Claire Foy in it. It had a really awesome cast and pirates.
Yeah. How can you go wrong with pirates?
I think and real pirates. It was like very authentic in that we were able to buy like Uzbekistan blankets and make them into capes and do all this stuff because the way that ships were rated, these were trade ships sometimes, and they could have been from anywhere in the world. So, I got to just kind of find the coolest stuff from everywhere, and it got made into cool costumes. And, other than the fact that I think we had to kill off a redcoat army a couple times, and then there was no more red wool to be found in the country. Things like that are weird that you don't really think about. You're like, hey, why didn't they plan it out where we shot all the soldiers alive and then we killed them all off? And then
well, you know how it is. You know how it is. Anytime you wear a red shirt, you're gonna get killed sooner than later.
Yeah, but we literally we used all the red wool in like the country, I think. So
what country were you shooting in?
Well, we shot in Puerto Rico, but we prepped out of LA. So,
okay.
Yeah, so it was that was a fun one. I did like 1860s in Underground, which was really great. A lot of research involved in that. And those are both MO shows, made to order shows where you get to build things and buy the fabrics and do the research and construct according to historical accuracy, or take creative license, whatever is the goal. But you know, that kind of stuff was fun. I don't know.
And you got to work on Sons of Anarchy too.
Oh yeah, I did season 1. Yeah, Kelly Jones is the designer. She's a good friend. Yeah, bikers. Why not? Fun. That reminded me of the. That reminded me of the videos.
But you know, I mean, I think one of the coolest things is, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, but isn't some of the coolest things though is that you get able to fit the actors out, or do you actually give them their clothes? Like if Ron Perlman came back there and said, "Okay, Candice, what am I wearing today?" Do you sit there and say, this is what we're putting you in, and
a costume department is rather big, so there's different people doing different things. You have the designer, you sometimes have an assistant designer or a key costumer, and you have costume shoppers and buyers, and you have a supervisor who's kind of like the producer. You have your set costumers. The set costumers are the ones that are going to take the final looks after we've decided and altered and aged down whatever it is, and they're the ones that place it in the actor's trailer and then change it out when the next scene comes. So there's usually a trailer costumer to do that, or the set costumers do that, and the set costumers then take care of the costume on set. So if somebody's getting shot or somebody's rolling around in the dirt, whatever, somebody's swimming, you know, and coming out of the water, that they're taken care of, and everything looks good on camera. So
okay, cool.
There's definitely different roles involved. But
okay, that's enough wardrobe. Let's get back to this. I had to sneak in Ron Perlman's name in there somehow. I saw the Sons of Anarchy, you know, because I love Ron Perlman. I like Charlie Hunnam a lot, and you know, so I had to sit there and think, you know, I was like, wow, you know.
I forgot about working on that. I worked on only season 1, and I know that went on forever. So yeah.
So what's next for you as far as filmmaking goes? I mean, what do you got down? What are you working on? I know you have some iron somewhere.
Yeah, I do. I'm working on a couple different things, like trying to write, but I'm just sort of beating my head against the wall at this point. It's in the beginning phase. So I'm just taking some time off work to just really focus on that, and maybe I'll make another short if I get really antsy. But we'll see. I don't know what that would be yet if I did. I have a couple things I've written. But yeah, I'm definitely trying to figure out what the next film will be. And I just gotta find that spark, you know, and I'll know it. But I'm working out some story ideas right now. It's just nothing's totally formed yet. So
yeah, that's got to be the hardest part when you know, to be in the genesis part of it. You know, the beginning. What's your process like to write? I mean, would you like, if you got up, like, walk us through a typical day in your life? I mean, let's say today, like, what did you do today when you got up? I mean, what do you do? What's your day like?
So once I get back home, I'll sit down, and sometimes I'll check emails. Sometimes I'll just put my phone on focus and just try to look at the outline that I made and write according to the outline. Sometimes I am in these sort of Instagram worlds of the characters that I'm thinking about to try to find out and discover who they are. And that is a black hole, because I can just be in a dance class, or I can be backstage with people, or like figuring out what, you know, one of the things that I am working on, it has to do a little bit with ballet. So I'll be in the world of what these people are doing and seeing what's interesting about it, what's dramatic about it.
You go through Instagram looking for certain people.
I follow a lot of people that might be inspiring the characters. And so
following 60 ballerinas then, right? See what they're doing. That's actually a really cool idea.
Yeah, I mean, because of social media, I think it's a different way than maybe like Woody Allen writes or whatever. Like, you know, I can just take a deep dive, and maybe it's not accurate. Like, I don't get to hear all the drama, but I get to see what people are putting into the universe, and it can kind of like influence like a character perhaps. And maybe I get an idea, and maybe I don't, but you know,
maybe like an older man with a cheetah.
maybe, yeah.
You don't see that. You don't see those on Instagram very much, Candice.
No, not really, not really. They might make a Tiger King too.
Tigers are overrated. Cheetahs are where it's at.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. I never heard anybody do anything like that.
So yeah, those deep dives. I think a lot of writers don't recommend that because they can be very distracting from the process. Like, I've gotten sort of different advice from people about that. Like, write the script out first and then go into the worlds and color the worlds later.
Well, I don't know. I think if you go both ways, because if you're sitting there and you need to get if you need to because you got to get to know a person. You know, like a lot of times I'll ask somebody, I say, do you write the character? I mean, when you write, do you write with who you like to have in your role? You know, a lot of writers will tell you they will write specifically with a certain person in mind. It makes the process easier for them because they have that person already there. So to me, if you're doing this through a ballet and you're following, my thing is probably not 60, maybe 20.
Like cyber stalking, and it makes me feel really bad. But then
that's not cyber stalking because you're not contacting them. You're just watching them. We all do that. We all watch. I mean, we all watch. There's nothing wrong with that. I think if you narrowed it down to maybe a casting call, you start out with 60 and you just shrink it down to the 10 most interesting. And then you can while you're writing the background, then you can write then you write the character. I think that's actually inspired. That's interesting. I've never heard anybody do that. I don't see.
Oh, really? Yeah.
What was that?
Oh, I was gonna say, everybody has a different process. So some people, they will start with the one line, and then they'll make that one line the paragraph, and then they'll do the synopsis, and then they'll do scene by scene, right? And then so they have like a paragraph for each scene. Then they'll make the note cards, and then they'll put the note cards on the board. And I've tried it that way too. And then you start writing a backstory for each character. I don't know. I like kind of zigzag around a lot, and so I don't want to be giving writing advice because.
Well, I say write to what makes it work. I mean, not everybody does the same thing twice because how boring would that be? How boring would that be? I mean, like you said, writing's the hardest part. You got to be able to do what you need to do to get it done. So if
I just saw something on Outstanding Screenplays that Quentin Tarantino said he'll have like a more or less the idea of a film mapped out, and then he will start writing it. When he gets to about 40%, that's when kind of like he lets go of his framework that he originally thought of, because by then the characters will hopefully take over and take it away from him and run with it. And I thought, oh, that's like such a pro thing to say. No,
it's a pro thing to say, but coming from a guy who has a rare original idea in his head, I'm not a Tarantino guy. I think he's a leech. He gloms off everybody else's ideas. He doesn't really come up with anything truly of his own. You can always see you always see influence of everybody else in his movies. There's like when you think of Quentin Tarantino, they start mentioning, well, yeah, that reminds me of that director. That reminds me of that director. That reminds me of that director. There's nothing worth like the only movie I ever saw Quentin Tarantino do that I actually really was like his. Mm-hmm. He did a 2-part episode of CSI. It's one of the best things he did. It's one of the best stories he wrote, and it was or he directed, and it was really sensational.
Wow.
Yeah, I like your idea. I like how you I like that idea. I think that's very interesting. I'll have to put that back in my head.
Yeah, and I saw another thing that Phoebe Waller-Bridge said, that she said write down all the funny stories that happened to you in life, and then try to weave it into a dramatic story. And I thought that was interesting too, because most people start with structure and then work dialogue, or then get there later. You know, I don't know. I mean, work in very, very, very different ways. I guess if you're a TV writer, you have to be more structured. You're in the room, and the process that they do an outline and, you know, do it like that. But for film, you can zigzag, I guess.
You want to try some other genres, Candice? I mean, if someone came up to you and say, "Hey, I got $15 million, make a horror film for me," would you do something like that?
Yes, I would do something like that. I think of myself like, you know, you think of, I don't want to compare myself to someone like Ang Lee, but like, if the story moves me, the genre doesn't matter. Like, if I'm interested in telling a story, the genre doesn't matter. I very much love horror. Like, I appreciate it. Like, I'm a huge Guillermo del Toro fan. Like, Pan's Labyrinth is one of my favorite movies, and something. I mean, that movie's kind of a horror movie, but it's also kind of an allegory for the Spanish Civil War, and you have history there, and you have so much other stuff going on that it's such a fantastic movie. And the other things he produces are terrifying, and I don't know, man. So yeah, I would definitely.
Except for Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim was just straight out badass.
Which one?
Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just straight out badass. So yeah, so you would, yeah, I can see that. I like this, you know, I just want to know if you would actually, you know, if you got opportunity to do a horror film or something that, you know, or a comedy, you know, it's something that you haven't done before, you know.
I actually would really like to do a comedy too. You know, Pony, the thing that I enjoyed most about that was trying to find the comedy within drama. I think a drama needs to have comedy, and comedy needs to have drama. And I remember that maybe it was Judd Apatow, but he said something that your comedy be a drama without the jokes, then you have the jokes. It's a comedy, something like that. And it was interesting because story still is dramatic. It's going to be a good story, you know? And it can be a comedy genre. It's on tone and dialogue, and the situational things are funny. Or your comment wouldn't be slapsticky. That's not my taste, but it would be something that I think psychologically would be funny, you know? So I don't know. I haven't written a comedy per se. I think drama comes naturally to me. I definitely would do a comedy for sure.
Sure.
If you watch 3 Days of Hall and you hear me say that, I laugh because that is so dramatic. But I think it comes out. So yes, I would do that.
Oh wow. You know, we've actually almost talked 2 hours. It really literally flew. Wow. Yeah. We've been talking. Yeah. This has been a lot of fun. I've learned so much.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't it fun? I told you it'd be just nice and easy. Just a couple of people just talking, just a couple of friends. And it just goes, the time flies. It really does. But
I can tell you forever.
I know, I see that. I might have to have you come back for a round table. I'm going to probably put together a round table. I'm going to have you come up and join us.
Cool.
But I do know that I do know we should wrap it up. But let me ask anybody in the chat. If anybody in the chat wants to ask Candice Carella any questions, feel free to do so. Drop your questions down there. They're still talking that it's my birthday. I don't know how that got happened. How did it come up to be my birthday?
That's funny.
I must have missed that. I had no idea how that. I didn't see anything. Let me see. Mr. Bones loves Sons of Anarchy. Yeah, you know, that is a really fun show. That means, you know, if you go back and look at the costumes, like, you know, I saw all the outfits for the motorcycle for the club. I mean, spot on, really well done.
I know that Jones is on that. She did what was, you know, real with the motorcycle clubs, like what the cuts like. I know that the mechanical art department design. So yeah, there's so much that goes into it. And somebody that like the Jax character that Charlie, you know, he brought his own flair and wanted in sneakers versus boots and all this other kind of stuff. It's really like a combination of how those characters are formed, but it became so popular, which is great for the creator. I mean, it's great. And you know, like some Taylor Sheridan, he was on that show. He was an actor on the show.
Wow. I froze. Let me back out and come back in. I froze. I can tell because my chat stopped. Be right. Yeah. I know. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I think we have a storm that's been going by me. It might be affecting us a little bit. Here we go. Miss Carella, would you get into those? Would you get into those psychotic brains, wondering how their brain types work? Movies in a would you get into those psychotic brain wondering how their brain works type of movies? In a more nuttier than yeah, I guess I could like this. I think Renee's asking me, would you be willing to get into a movie like a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, like, you know, where they have characters that are really, really disturbed, like Silence of the Lambs or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
Or Human Centipede.
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, Silence of the Lambs is a great classic psychological thriller. Movie 7, like, I would love to do something like that. Yeah, that would be so fun, you know, because that's really fun to explore the creepiest side of human nature, you know, and what people tick and what scares people is so interesting, you know. So discovering that, like, as a filmmaker, would be so great. It'd be so fun.
What scares you?
What scares me? That's an interesting question. Writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, as a parent, you have fears. You know, I don't know, losing people that I love. Like, that's why I always think those films where you have loss or, you know, threaten a loss, that key connection is very important to establish. And I don't know what else. I don't fear for my life really at all. I'm lucky in that regard, but I've put myself into situations. Yeah, I think not being able to do the career that I see myself doing scary, you know, like the thought that maybe I want to accomplish all the things I want to do. That's scary because I definitely have a hunger to do movies. So I don't know. I didn't think about that one. I think a lot more. Those are the.
Yeah, it's really weird. You know, I ask people like, what scares you, and it's like, you know, it's an interesting question, you know, or sometimes you've already gone through what you fear the most. What, you know, well, some people, you know, what are you scared of most? Well, then you feel like, you know, death or something like that, and then it does happen, you know, loss of a brother or son or wife, and then you go through that, and all of a sudden it's like, once you do go through that, you find yourself fearless. You really have, there's nothing out there really to scare you because you've already gone through it. You know, it's like nothing bothers me. You know, it's like, you know, here comes a big tiger, you know, well, fine. You know, I don't care, you know, that sort of thing. Or you have to write a script. You have to write a rewrite of a script in 48 hours. not a problem. I can crank that out. You know, I'm not scared of that. I've done worse. I've faced worse.
Mhm.
Suspense movie. Yeah. Hi, Casey. Casey's here. Wow. And then suspense movies. There you go. Oh yeah, she liked to know if you like to write suspense movies. Yeah, I definitely see you could definitely do suspense.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
Tiki Talk is something that I really like, you know, that once what happens when they don't get it. Wow. You know, I love stories like that. Love doing this with me to answer the question.
Yeah, that's I hear the screams echo now. Are we coming through clear in the chat? Are we coming clear, or are we bouncing all over the place? I have a feeling our voices are bouncing. Hopefully not. Yeah. Okay. Well, I tell you what, Candice, I'm going to go ahead and I want to thank you for coming out and hanging out with us. I had a lovely time. Truly did. This is so much fun. I hope we did you right. I hope you enjoyed it. And I already interviewed Hilary and Leah, right?
Yeah, I know you did.
Yeah, I got the whole trilogy down.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that with everything you do going forward.
Okay.
I'll just follow all your Instagrams.
Yeah, cool.
Actually, we're gonna drop your information down in the below after we get done with the show. I'll put all your information, your Instagram and your movie database page down. Is there anything that is there any other places that we should know about that people could read up about you? Do you have your own website or anything like that?
I have a website. It's candicecarella.com. It's kind of a work in progress at the moment, but please free to check stuff out there. And then follow me on Facebook and Instagram. You should know I'm working on things to be and whatnot. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see.
I just in TikTok. So.
Oh, are you on TikTok too?
I'm not that active because I have to figure it out, but I did.
It's a weird world. Yeah. Okay, you do hear bouncing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I thought so too. I don't know what that is. Hopefully it'll go away once we launch it. All right. I want to thank the cast of fun of people in my chat room. Let you guys know real quick what we got coming up next week. Before we go, next week we have Executive Assistant Ruth Hill will be here. She is the personal assistant of actor Paul Green. So we'll talk to her about how she got that job and what it entails. That's going to be a lot of fun. Ruth is a really sweet person, tremendously sweet person. And then on the 17th of next Wednesday, we have actor Mike Markoff will be here. If you're planning to do a suspense movie or an action movie, Candice, I could recommend Mike Markoff to you. Highly recommend him. This guy's a badass. He's a really good actor too. And then next Thursday, a week from today, we welcome in Cammie Storm will be here. Actress and model Cammie Storm will be here. And then on the 19th at 2 o'clock Eastern, special start time, we have Chloe Kriakos. Oh, I'm killing her name. I know I am. From Introducing Jodea and the Righteous Gemstones. She will be here to talk about the gemstones and Introducing Jodea. And that is her. That was actually wrote that movie. It's her first screenplay, I believe it is. All right, folks. Thank you for all coming up and supporting our interview with Candice, and we will see you. We'll see you next Tuesday. All right. Thanks so much, and until the next one, peace. Stay right where you're at, Candice. Oh, we're stuck. Hold on one second. Oh boy. Let me go out. I have to come back out and come